Welcome, coaches, to the New Jersey High School Strength Coach Podcast. It has been a long time since myself and Paul Collodi have recorded an episode. Paul's going to be jumping on board shortly. We've got Mike Defazio here. He is the strength coach at Fairlawn High School. He's going to be one of our speakers at the New Jersey State Clinic, which is March 27th, I'm pretty sure. That's a Friday. And real excited to have Mike there. Our old buddy, Will Nahan, referred him. So no pressure on Mike, although I know Mike, pressure is a privilege. So, Mike, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, my man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Very good. In New Jersey, a full-time high school strength coach is still a super rare position. Administrators are
Mhm.
still kind of like, we can't do it. We don't have the money. There's got like 99 reasons why they can't do it. So, your background is interesting because you were working in athletics at Columbia University, correct?
I was, yeah, that was so I might give you just a little bio real quick.
Sure.
So in 2006, graduated from Columbia University, where I played football and baseball there. Like a lot of guys had a dream of playing sports after school. I played independent pro baseball for a split second. My arm blew out pretty quick, so that was over before it even really started. And then, I went back to grad school in sports management at Columbia, got a degree, which was a very expensive way of finding out I don't like to sit behind a desk for a living. And when that finished up in 2009, that was right when the financial crisis happened. So
Yes,
even if I wanted to get into like sports business, there weren't really any jobs. And
correct.
I was living on my own, and I was living in New York City, and I definitely did not want to move back home at that point. So I ended up getting a job bartending. And so I did that for a couple of years. And one day, a woman that I went to college with, she just happened to come into the bar, and she had just gotten hired as the AD at a high school in the South Bronx. If anybody's familiar with the KIPP schools, KIPP, it's a
Yeah.
charter network across the country. So we were just talking. The school was brand new, hadn't even opened yet, and she asked if I was interested in coaching football, which I obviously was. So I joined the school in 2009 as their founding football coach, and I had a really cool experience of building a football program, a baseball program, and a strength and conditioning program, and a couple of weight rooms from scratch. Which I will suggest to anybody, if you have an opportunity to build something, absolutely take it. It is one of the best experiences ever. So did that for 10 years, and I was there. And then we did an awesome job. I was really lucky to coach with some great guys, and really more than anything, coach great kids. And we built the programs up from after school programs, right, that had like 20 kids in it, to eventually a city championship football and baseball team. We had over 80 kids in the football program. And I had 2020 or 2019, I started to feel like, wanted a new challenge, wonderful place, but just, been there for a decade. And that's when I got the job at Columbia as the director of player personnel for recruiting. So I got that job, actually got hired a week before COVID. And so I was on the job for 4 days and then got sent home for a year. And so, like everybody was learning how to recruit virtually, which is now the norm.
Yeah.
So I was at Columbia for 2 years, and which was a great experience. What when I got there, I was like, all right, like I really love college football and everything, or just football in general. But then I just felt like, like I like the high school level better. You get to do a lot more. You go from football to the off-season weight room and recruiting. So you have a very nice natural cycle that really keeps things fresh naturally. So that's when, tragically the Ramapo high school job opened up when, the legendary late great Drew Gibbs passed away. And I put in for that job, and I was lucky enough to get it. And I coached there for 2 years. We had some great success. Again, wonderful kids, wonderful parents and community, great place to coach. And then it was just, with I didn't go to school for education or anything, so I don't have like a PE cert. So all the routes that I was looking at going just were not something that were going to really be sustainable for football. So I made the choice to step down. It was a really tough decision because, great place to coach. But when I stepped down, the superintendent who had hired me at Ramapo, he had left and gone to Fairlawn, and he had posted for a strength and conditioning position. and I reached out to him. I interviewed for the job, and was lucky to get it. It's a great job and a great community and great school, and it's been awesome. And just again, like what's been great is building something from scratch again, but now with about 15 years of experience under my belt. So a lot of the
Yes.
mistakes that I made in my original foray into being a coach didn't make again. And quite frankly, the opportunity to just focus on the weight room has been awesome because I've always been coaching other sports, and like there's you only have so much bandwidth, right? Like
Yep.
so like I think back to them like, man, like, so many things I wish I had done better in the weight room. But when you're doing everything, it's tough, right? So having the opportunity to just focus on the weights, build that up, train all of our athletes, and that be my primary and only thing has been an awesome experience.
I
So
love it.
that's where I am right now.
Your background, Mike, is I mean, I feel like somebody said this to me. He said, Zach, your struggles as a high school strength coach will never be fixed unless you become an administrator or supervisor and you can actually tell coaches what to do. And with your background from college athletics to charter school to building programs from the ground up, do you ever see yourself in the future saying, man, I'm gonna, you're building this program now, but are you
Mm-hmm.
thinking big picture? The way to really build it is to be admin because I wonder like how what your experience is being at college level. Uh,
Yeah.
this is you have a wide array of experience.
Yeah. Thank you. And right now, no, I just love coaching too
Yep.
much, but like I said earlier when I was talking about the grad program, you know, administrators, obviously you have a lot of great ones and very important jobs, but you're not with the kids, with the athletes as much, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if there was some unique situation where I could be an admin and then still coach kids after school, maybe that's a different story, right? But right now where I'm at, I really enjoy doing this. It gives me a lot of flexibility too. I mean, I've done tons of Zooms during the day, learning from other strength coaches, stuff which has been great, and just diving into this head on full time year round. I really enjoyed it. So where I'm at right now, I really like where I'm at, but who knows in 5 years where you could be.
Right. And right now you've got that one focus with like you said, is it's a powerful place to be in. It's interesting to see that still sport coaches at the high school level, I've heard of this from every coach, experienced it myself. They still will not kind of say, hey, you know what? You're the expert. Come and help me. There's still a lot of sport coaches that are like, hey, we know what we're doing. Or the old saying of, quote, we've we've always done it this way. And they don't want to hear something else, which you're coming from college. When was it? When was your last year there, Mike? 2020?
2022.
2022, a few years ago. I coached at the college level. We are working in conjunction to just consistently find what is best for the kids and how we could win more.
Yeah.
And I have not had that experience with everybody at the high school level. It's really interesting. So, now that you are sole strength coach, what have been some of the challenges or obstacles? And have you been able to turn obstacles into opportunities?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great question and a great point, right? Because you know, you are a position like this that's new that comes in, even if it's for the better, it's still disrupting a schedule and a routine, right?
Yep.
So like, you got good coaches that have their routine. They know what they like to do. I like to practice for this amount of time these days. And now you're saying like, hey, like let's get in the weight room at least once a week, hopefully twice or three times, right?
Yes. I'm going to
So
let Paul in here.
yeah,
He's going to jump in, but we'll keep it going. Hold, I'll just, let's see. All right, Paul.
Yeah.
All right,
what's up, coach?
we're mid conversation, Paul. Mike is crushing it. We're talking about Mike is in his second year as a new position strength coach at Fairlawn, and we're talking about it's the year 2026. coaches would be like, hey, I want your help. But we're talking about a lot of coaches are still, whoa, this is new to my schedule. So, Mike, go ahead and pick up where you left off about even trying to get at coaches and teams in once a week.
Yeah, for sure. So now, listen, I've also been really like a lot of the coaches at Fairlawn have been very on board with this. And like, when I got hired, it's being like, hey, like this is something we really need. So, I mean, between football, girls soccer, girls basketball, our track program, boys basketball, like girls lacrosse, girls softball, there's been a good amount of buy-in there from people, which has been very, very nice. But again, challenges, like I said, you're disrupting a schedule, right? So how are you convincing people that it's worth it to cut your practice short by a half hour to get in and get a lift, right? And honestly, like the only way that it's happened is because you get a couple kids that sign up in the off season and they're with you, and then all of a sudden they go back to their sport and their coach says, hey, like this kid looks bigger, stronger, faster, and then they start to get on board like, hey, I'm encouraging more of my kids to do this, I'm going to make this a priority, right? So that's unless the person kind of understands it on their own and the value of it and sees the value of it, you just got to show them by doing a great job with the kids, right? And again, like I got great kids, I'm very lucky, and they work hard, and kids have seen a noticeable difference in terms of their performance on the court or on the field, wherever it may be.
Let me ask you a question, then I'm going to let Paul jump in here. I didn't realize that. Are you PE certified then, Mike, or no?
Now, if I was PE certified, I might be doing a totally different thing. Who knows? So,
Okay. What
yeah,
was your schedule when you started to, or this is your second year, or is this the be like,
year two.
okay. So
Yep,
you're a year and a half in basically, or a year and
yep,
6 months in. What schedule was presented to you when
yeah.
during the hiring process, and have you changed? Has it changed just through the communication? So I'd love to hear what your daily schedule looks like, because Paul is also, you guys might be actually also Mike Johansson and Manasquan might be the only full-time strength coaches at the high schools in New Jersey, but you're not under the PE umbrella.
Yeah. So I am what's called an independent position. So my hours are I got to hit 40 hours a week. So I don't have like the teachers CBA where your hours, periods, how many things, all that stuff, like coverage periods. I don't have that. It's just 40 hours for the week. So I got to hit that. And what's great about it is it's very flexible, right? So during the school year, I'm there 5 days a week. But during the summertime, it's only Monday to Thursday because I'm 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. training kids all day long, right? So which is great. The summertime flies by, which is you're on your feet all day training and everything. So that's great. But during the school year, pretty much it's Monday through Thursday, and I leave Fridays open after school. So let's say we're in basketball season right now because it just happened. Girls basketball usually lifts on Mondays and Wednesdays at like 4:30 after they get an early practice in and they come in after. But they had a game on a Monday. So what did they do? They did the Wednesday lift and then they came in for Friday after school in that open session. So the way I schedule it is I only get my kids 2 days a week in terms of the off-season kids, which initially I was kind of worried about because the lowest I'd ever done is a 3 day split. And I love a 3 day split. It's my preferred one. So what I did was, I started off initially, it was, Monday, girls were first, boys were second. And then Tuesday, boys were first, girls were second, trying that.
What
Right.
what time,
And
Mike? What was the time slot?
oh, yeah, sorry. So five, the bell rings. So 2:45, we start up
Oh, nothing during the school day.
during the school day. So
Oh,
sometimes a PE teacher, when they run their fitness units, they'll ask me to come in and help with the class and just go teach the kids how to use the equipment and everything like that. But for the most part, I'm just after school, which is great. So starts at 2:45. So we go 2:45 to 4:30. So my after school groups are about 45 to 50 minutes. Quick little break, transition, get the kids out, new kids in, and they go again till 4:30. And then the teams have 45-minute blocks. So you'll get an in-season team, 4:30 to 5:15, 5:15 to 6, and then 6 to 6:45. And there are never really any groups after that. most of the time it does end at 6 o'clock, but we
Hmm.
do have some later groups sometimes.
So
So that's the way.
kids might go home and then come back.
So depending on what their practice schedule is, generally speaking, they're coming right from practice,
Oh,
or
after
sometimes
practice.
like girls basketball, right? Like if they have an earlier practice, they're coming in, which is great because they're already warmed up. You don't have to spend that 10 minutes initially with them. You're not doing any speed or jump work because they've just been doing that for the last hour and a half, 2 hours, right? But when I get them before practice, that's when I will do the full warm up. We'll do speed work, we'll do jump work, and then we'll get a lift in. So it just kind
Nice.
of depends on when I get them. But I also have stuff. So some of the kids that have really bought into it, which has been great, if their team is only signed up once a week, they'll just say, "Hey, coach, like, can I come in and get a lift in right after school? I don't have practice till later." So I'll have my main off-season group, which ranges anywhere between 20 and 70 kids,
Yep.
depending on the group. So I have a workout for them posted on the wall. We use Team Builder, so they have all their percentages and everything in there. So like, I don't need to write stuff up for them. The workout will say like, "Hey, you're at 75% of your bench press on dumbbell press today," right? So like, they can just look their numbers up, and I just keep an eye on them while I'm watching the main group. So
Um,
that's generally how it works.
is their phones? They use their phones in the weight room to check what
So
they tracked.
yeah, for Team Builder, yes. So I depends, right? So for example, when I got a big group of girls after school, like up to 70 girls sometimes in the session, right? Or when track comes in, and that's an enormous group. Um,
Yes.
so for those groups, generally speaking, they're not using their phones simply for the reason that I printed off the workout, put it on like right on the rack. So, you know, like I use a lot of, Paul turned me on the APRE, which is great. I'll use that with my smaller groups so they can change plates. But with my bigger groups, I'm using a lot of like, rep and reserve. So like I'll basically how I'll do it is I'll take a group because listen, you got 60 kids in a weight room. You can't change plates all the time. You just don't have the time to do it. Right. So like if I got a group of 8 to 10 kids at one rack, what I basically do, and whether this is scientifically correct or not, it's working right now. So let's say I got 10 kids at a rack and their bench press is between 175 and 200, right? I will take the average of all their maxes and I'll base our percentages off of that, right? And then I'll just say to kids like, "Hey, we got 2 sets. You're taking it to one rep in reserve. So like the stronger kids are going to get more reps. The weaker kids obviously aren't, but everybody's working up to an appropriate strain for the day
I
on
like
those,
that. The
right? So
reps in
so it
reserve.
yeah, so it helps me in that sense get everybody a good workout without have to worry about changing so many plates, everybody checking their phone, things like that. Now, when I have in-season kids, for the most part, in the smaller groups, they'll go off their phone. Everybody have their specific percentage. There's enough time for them to change plates and stuff. Because if you got 2 kids at a rack, you got plenty of time to change a plate
Yes.
over.
That's awesome. So Paul, do you have a middle school group coming in? Is that why?
Not till 7:15. So I just
Oh,
got done with a game speed session with 24 lacrosse and football players. So my kids do come back. So they go home and listen, if they're not coming here, their parents are driving them to the gym. So why
yes.
not drive them here?
Yeah.
I say that all the time. Your kid's going to work out. They can either go to the gym, to the big box and work out with their buddy, or they can show up here and get a training session. And so
Yeah.
on uh,
For free nonetheless with
for
the
free,
It's so
National Strength Coach
expensive.
of the
Yeah.
Year, right?
It's so
free, free
expensive. It's
99.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul's audio
Free 99,
sounds,
exactly.
your audio sounds great. You sound like you're a pilot. It sounds very
Oh,
good.
I got the Zach Evanesh headphones.
It's better. I think it's
Um,
better.
I'm
I
with
don't.
you.
All right, I'm pumped to have Mike here. Mike's wait till you hear his intro, man. I didn't realize I knew he worked at Columbia, but also started from the ground floor at a charter school. It was awesome. So, Paul, ask a question, and then Mike we haven't done a podcast for so long, so he may not have heard those favorite questions we always ask. I
I have
gotta
not.
Yeah, so we're gonna really surprise him with those two. I
All
can't
right.
wait. So, Paul, let it rip. What do you got for Mike? Do you have a question for Big Mike?
Well, I do. And, you were talking about 70 girls coming in. What teams are coming in your weight room right now from the girl side?
Yeah. So girls soccer actually might be my best group, quite frankly. Like they were bought in their head coach guy, John Van Soest, he's very into fitness and all that stuff. Like he's a feed the cats guy in the sense from like he
Good.
believes in all that. He pays attention to this stuff, basically is what I'm saying. It means a lot. So he got his girls in right away when I started that first summer. As did football. So Brendan Wallace, the head football coach there, he does a great job as well. So from a girls standpoint, it's girls soccer, girls basketball, girls volleyball. They've started to get into it more, which has been great. We have a very good volleyball program at Fairlawn. Peter Cisa, who's been the head coach for a long time, he does a great job. He's been getting his girls in. Softball, and then girls lacrosse, and then obviously a bunch of girls with track.
Hmm. So the track girls, but the basketball, they have their own in-season lifts, correct? They're not in the
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
whole group. So
Yeah.
off-season
Exactly.
wise, you got
Yep.
soccer, lacrosse, and
Softball.
softball.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you get 70 girls out of those three sports. That is crazy good.
So actually, so I last year when I started this program, I actually kind of got worried because I was having some sessions with like single digit kids, and I knew it was new and all that stuff. So you're building it up, and then the summertime it was still pretty small. But then when we got back to school, I had about 120 kids sign up in the fall just for off season, not even including the teams. And then the winter, I had over 200 kids for off season,
Wow.
most of which were girls. So I had about 130, 140, 150 girls. So I had to break that up. This is where I really kind of came up, but made the adjustment to reps and reserve because before I was prescribing reps, plate changes, all that stuff. But as soon as you get a big group in like that, well, now, I mean, we're doing reps in reserve. We are tri-setting. I got kids doing sled drags in the hallway while we got a group going in the weight room, stuff like
Mhm.
that.
It's
So
great.
you just got to figure it out, right? Like we've all been there with that stuff, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
I got to say, I enjoy coaching girls so much. Like it's I've never coached before. Like I was a teacher and I taught, but never had girls in an athletic environment, especially not in the weight room. And the girls have been great, so it's been a lot of fun. And I, quite frankly, I've learned a lot from coaching the girls in terms of just like different things to respond to, different coaching cues that work, stuff like that.
What has,
Uh,
I'm sorry to cut you off. What has helped you with the coaching of the girls? Because I feel that way also. They made me a better coach.
Yeah, well, so one, I mean, listen, I love coaching boys. I'm a meathead. I get it. You know what I mean? So, but like the girls come in, they're organized, right? They got their Stanley bottles, everything's in place. They're on time. They listen very well. And so like you don't blow a gasket as much with the girls,
That's
So
right. Yeah.
that's obviously a great part. All right. But I'll say words more carefully in the sense like, boys, like let's be real, sometimes you can just scream at it. It's like, all right, whatever. Like, but like the girls don't respond as well to that. And quite frankly, when you think about it in the end, you're like, should I really be yelling at this kid? Right.
Hmm.
It's
Yes.
forced me to reevaluate sometimes the way I deliver a message because listen, as a career head football coach, I can blow a gasket very easily. The vein gets throbbing on the forehead and the top of the chrome dome here. So coaching the girls has been great in that regard where I realized, all right, like maybe if I just take a step back and deliver my message a little bit differently, it will resonate better. And carrying that over with the boys as well. So it's just been great having them in there. So what I'll say is that I read this someplace. A guy said it. He's like, the perfect lifter has the attention to detail and the coachability of a girl and the intensity of a boy. Right. So like
Ah.
boys will come in with 1 foot, an UGG on the other, sweatpants that he's been wearing for a day. He's been drinking out of the same Poland Spring bottle for 2 weeks,
hmm.
but he wants to bench and he will grip it and rip it and stuff like that, which is great. So, and now with the girls, as they've gotten more into it, like they're intense about it, like they give great effort and they enjoy it, which is a lot of fun.
That is great.
I
I like the feedback.
And to me, that should be the first thing on our job description, problem solver, your ability to figure it out. And I think that the better we are with that, the better our kids are going to be at that. And our kids don't know how to figure things out. So the fact that you're mentioning that is telling me that your kids at Fairlawn are going to get it. They're going to understand it. And that when they leave there after 4 years, they're going to be able to take that skill to college, to their job, to their relationship, because our life is figure it out. Basically,
Yeah.
that's what we have to do. And I think the weight room does a good job. It can do a good job with doing that, especially with
Yeah.
reps in reserve. Because when a kid gets stapled after 2 reps, you're going to be like, wait, time out. Let's put a little bit less weight on the bar so we can get
Yeah.
more reps. And then when you feel like you can do maybe one more, rack it. Let's learn to lift another day or for
Yeah.
another set.
Yeah.
And when the kids start figuring that out, man, the session gets so good.
Yes.
When they're
Yeah.
not like struggling with poor technique under the
Hmm.
bar. I had a
Yeah.
conversation with the some baseball, or I explained it in baseball terms. As I said, during baseball practice, does coach tell you, I want you to strike out 20 times in a row and then let's hit the ball? That would be like you failing on the deadlift over and over again, failing on the squat over and over again. It makes no sense, but that's what you do. So I know I said we were going to go to the funny questions, but Paul, I got to ask Mike one more
Me too.
technical
I got a
question.
serious one too.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm not going to be too serious, but Mike, with your football background and so long in football, have you noticed a change in the game or even in the mindset of the athletes in this way? I feel like we've gotten away thanks to a lot of the internet with being strong and everything is like fancy and speed and
yeah.
strength and like real good movement like a nice deep squat is very rare. Benching without back bridging is becoming very rare, but everybody wants to aimlessly run around cones and hurdles. Did you deal with any of that coming in? And have you seen the shift? Because you've been around football for how long? Not in
Uh,
coaching wise.
2009. I've been a head
Yeah.
coach in 2009.
Close to 18 or, yeah, so 17, 18 years. So close to two
Yeah.
decades. I always felt like there was a shift as the iPhone became popular, 2012,
Yeah.
2013. So I'd love to hear, have
Yeah.
you changed your mind about training football players in the past?
No. No.
Okay.
So I think the biggest thing that I noticed, and to your point about the internet and the phone and everything like that, right? You're absolutely right with the fancy workout stuff where like everybody thinks I don't know who the guy is, but he always posts something where it's like a guy doing a hex bar squat with like a band around his neck,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
all
Doc,
this wild
Dr.
stuff, right?
Joel or something. Yeah.
Dr.
Joel
Dr.
Seedman.
Chill,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So kids see that and they're kids. They're impressionable. It looks cool. You get one athlete doing it and they think, like, listen, Derrick Henry, like some of Derrick Henry's workouts where you'll see Derrick Henry on like, a real thick band, like doing push-ups, like five and stuff like that. Like, listen, is that good? But like Derrick Henry is an elite professional athlete who's been doing the basics for God knows how long. So that guy needs some variability in his training to just provoke a different stimulus, right? A 14, 15-year-old does not need that. You just need to learn how to bench. You need to know how to do a push-up, right? So that's something I definitely emphasize with the kids is just like, let's keep it simple. Let's get good at the basics, right? And another thing, a battle I always used to pick, and I don't do it anymore. I just try and give the kids a framework to do it, is going to lift on their own. Because, I'll have kids like, we'll have a kick-ass workout, right? And then the kid goes to retro fitness or crunch and we'll squat heavy again, like after we just deadlifted heavy. And it's like, dude, like give yourself a break, like, or, you got a situation where kids' parents are paying for something and, everybody wants an ROI. So it's like, my kid's going to still lift hard 2 times in a row. And it's like, that's not the best thing to do. So, point of saying is what I say to kids now, I'm like, guys, like, I have you for 2 days a week. Keep your big lifts with me. All
Hmm.
right. Keep the squat, deadlift, the bench. Keep that with me. when you go to the gym on your own, if you want to do arm farm for 45 minutes, man, and just crush the bicep, be my guest. Like, that's fine, right? You want to do leg extensions, whatever it is, like, cool, do your thing, but just try and save the big lifts for us. And enough of the kids that have bought into that, some of them still are like I was when I was a teenager, a knucklehead, and we're still going to go do something. And, it is what it is. I can only manage so much. So that's a battle I've kind of stopped picking and just try and redirect them that way. But I'll say this related to social media that you brought up for the biggest thing that I see with kids is eating in terms of an issue because you see so much about intermittent fasting. You got all these like people with their shirt with like shredded abs. And like, yeah, I get it. Everybody wants that, but man, do I try and put an emphasis on the importance of eating. And like I say to kids, I'm like, listen, like you're at a unique point in your life. You do not need to really fast, count your calories. You just need calories. Like, please just go get tons of them in. I'm like, if I hear anybody is intermittent fasting, like I'm going to yell at you because you don't need to do it. When you're my age and, like you look at a hamburger and you put on 5 pounds, like you should do intermittent fasting. But until then, you got to get your calories.
Nice.
And I also, I keep a fair amount of food in the weight room because just kids don't eat.
Do they have to buy the food or what is it like?
No, so I go to Costco, get a bunch of snacks like, granola bars,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Just so a kid gets, I mean, I have kids sometimes that like literally turn white after the warm up. And I'm just like, did you eat? And no. So give them a bottle of water, a granola bar, and some fruit snacks. Take a chill. And if you feel better, come back in the workout. Right. If not, then you're just done for the day. And you got to make sure you eat.
You
They
gotta
don't
go
pay
to
for that.
you gotta go to
Yeah.
Costco and get the giant muffins. Zach loves when you hand out the giant muffins.
Our athletic trainer used to sell them, and I would see tons of kids with those big muffins. And I told them, I go, dude, that's cancer food, and that's like a side of diabetes right there. And they would buy it and hide it. And I was trying to say to them, guys, what I'm telling you to do is make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at home, make another turkey sandwich. But why are we but not only that, why is the school selling that?
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
like, Mike, how level-headed you are, because you were in the college sector, you were been coaching since pre-2010. We're probably pre-2010. If a kid was white and didn't eat, we'd be like, too bad, get back in there. We're like, hey,
Exactly.
this could go
Grind it out,
sideways.
dude.
Yeah, this could go
Yeah.
sideways. So you're going to eat, you're going to drink, and if you're not better, you got to come back another day. And you know what? Sometimes I think that's better because the gift is coming into train, and your lack of preparation is kind of like their own punishment.
Exactly. Right. And give me a sec. My computer's about to die. So plug it.
Sure.
So, okay.
You're good.
So that was something, and quite frankly, like I'm very lucky for my 2 years in college because if I'm being perfectly honest, I had a similar approach before going to the next level and learning from a college strength guy, college head coach, just about like what are the things that matter most, right? Like, listen, everything matters, but not everything is critical, right? And at the end of the day, like you want your kids performing to the best of their ability. So I mean, I remember being a young head coach and like a kid saying he was uncomfortable and me just, giving him like the tough it out like thing. And now, I mean, if a kid's not feeling good, like, I mean, listen, sometimes you do have to say to a kid, like, listen, man, you got to tough this out.
Yep.
But very often, like, okay, if you're not feeling good, let's see what you can do today. And whatever
Yes.
hurts, I tell them, like, if it hurts, don't do it. Like, we can make it.
Yes.
A kid says, like, he does his first set of deadlifts or squats, and he's like, Coach, my back kind of hurts. I'm like, all right, you're done. Here's what we're doing. We're doing sled drags in
Correct.
the hallway, right? Like, if the kid, go ahead, sorry.
What you reminded me of too, and Paul has known me for a very long time. We've known each other since my first location, but when now we've had athletes the past, I don't know how many years. Sometimes they do the dynamic warm up, they last 5 minutes and they're sick. And I tell parents, if your son or daughter, it never happens to girls. It's interesting. If your son starts getting nauseous, we're calling it a day. I'm not going to try to get him to do this. But in the early days of the underground, early 2000s, pre 2010, a dad wouldn't let his kid walk out. We'd have kids throw up their water, and the dad would be like, "Get the F back in there." It was such an interesting time.
Yeah.
Or the kids would not quit. They would not give up. They would throw up and they would come back and dump water over their head. But now I think we've seen kids die from
Yeah.
conditioning workouts that may not even be that hard, but the kid was fully like just completely dehydrated because
Hmm.
um I once had a kid show up at the gym at like 6 p.m. and all he ate that day was a bowl of cereal in the summertime.
Yeah.
What was he doing all day? Video games. He couldn't last through a training session. And we started asking kids, what was breakfast? What was lunch? Take a picture of everything you eat. So it's a real thing to have
Yeah.
serious liability issues in the high school setting and in college. There's been college
Oh
deaths,
yeah.
It just
as you
happened.
know,
Northern
in
Iowa just had a football death last couple days ago.
which would
Oh my
be
God.
right after 2 weeks coming back from winter break. What was it? A
Mhm.
medical condition or what was
No,
it?
they were running sprints.
Here's what's
I
interesting,
I
Mike.
don't know
With
all the whole
right,
information.
we're not going to, but Mike, I said this to my daughter. My daughter's a tennis player at the Division 1 level, so they have like a
Oh,
short
nice.
fall season, and then they go spring is like they're going. But I've had this conversation with my buddy John Wellborn, and I'm sure it was a conversation you and your buddies had because you played football at Columbia. You were a two-sport athlete at Columbia. You,
Yeah. Football, baseball.
that's crazy rare, very rare, Mike. Right?
Eh, yes, but I'm as I am learning now in this job after being a teacher for so long and my schedule being managed for me for about a decade. I do not do well when I have a lot of time. So the fact that I played two sports that probably helped me academically more
I
than
like that.
anything. I didn't have the time. So now it's been something I've had to work on learning how to really block off my days and be
Right.
productive. Because I mean, when you like Paul, you can relate because you start after school, correct? Like
I
your
start at
day
10:30. I
in terms of training the kids,
Yeah, training. Yeah,
it's
two
after school.
15 to 2:30. Yep.
But he's
Yep,
in at
exactly. So
10:30.
yeah, same here, right? I'm in at like 10 o'clock, right? So like your day, if you don't manage your time well and like you really have a plan for time management, like your day can get away from you very
Mhm.
easily, right?
Yeah.
So
There's that
that's
saying of if you don't fill your time with good stuff,
Parkinson's law.
that's it. So Mike, my
Your work,
question was when you were in
yeah,
college, didn't you guys just know that when you're coming back from winter break, I hate saying back in the day, but a while pre 2010, I think football knew that when they got back, the training was not going to be, hey, we're doing an introductory week with you guys. We're going to
yeah.
reacclimate your tissue tolerance. There was none of that. It must have been like, you better show up ready to kick ass and you better have been training over winter break. Wasn't that the thing, quote unquote, back
It,
in the
it
day, Mike?
yeah, it was, and I'll say this: I was lucky because I was a two sport guy. Like I never I never came back from spring break after being wherever in like Florida for a week partying. Like I had to get back into a workout, right?
Right.
But that was something. So the strength coach at Columbia, he recently passed, Bob Gilmartin. Great mentor to me. Bob was a very bright guy. I mean, he was on Shiano's strength staff when during
Mhm.
Shiano's first run. He was at Tampa Bay with Shiano, and he was a former bodybuilder and all this stuff. So like really knowledgeable guy, and a great strength coach. He was a great mentor to me. But he would talk about that, just like kind of like the battles he would pick sometimes, being like, because everyone's like, hey, we got to get him back and we got to grind him like this first week back from break. And it's just like, you just literally had kids boozing for a week and
Mhm.
partying and like getting no sleep. Do we really want to throw them into a meat grinder of a workout the
Hmm.
first time they get back? And he talked about some study or something where it's like that a significant amount of injuries happen returning from break at the college level because kids have been off and not doing anything, doing whatever, and coaches are just like, yeah, we got to break them back into it. And he was always like, he's like, I'm not saying we got to do yoga for 2 weeks, but like
Yeah.
you got to get back into it appropriately.
Our
It's
number one
just
job is to get them stronger, faster, and play their sport better. And if we set them back a week because we beat the crap out of them so much that they can't move, they can't
Yeah,
press weight, they can't run fast, they can't jump high. So what are we doing? Are we doing it to make them
yeah,
tough? I don't care who you are. If you're playing college football, chances are you're pretty tough. If you're playing
yeah,
college baseball, chances are you're pretty tough and you've been through some stuff. That's what I hear people say all the time. If you're a high school junior and they have to take you and do a toughness week and you've made it through 2 years of that program, don't you think you're tough already? Like there's some things that you have to start to look at. And
yeah,
how is it moving the needle as far as their performance, not only in the weight
yeah,
room, but on the court? And if it's moving it in the wrong direction, you may have to take a step back, look at put your pride aside and say, is this worth doing? And I'm not, again,
yeah,
I'm the same as you. I don't want to say do yoga, but if they're coming back and we're not going to do, we're not going to make it so that they can't walk the next day. But I think that's
yeah.
something that people put a badge of courage on that. Oh, yeah, look what we did to them. Well, yeah, you just
Yeah.
set them back a week. They're going to be,
sometimes it's the coach who says this is
yeah.
what you got to do. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure. This could happen at the high school level. This could certainly happen in college. I wouldn't be shocked if it sometimes happens in the youth
Oh, no
level.
doubt. No
I
doubt.
I would, you know what, if you have the space, and a lot of the college programs do. I don't know. I was at Columbia last winter for a did
Yeah.
a
Frank
clinic,
Lasante.
yeah, with at
Yeah.
Mondo, and
Yep.
it was
Awesome.
crazy. There were not a lot of people there.
Yeah.
It was
I know Frank, the strength coach there. I worked with
yeah.
him when I was there. He took
He's
over
a
for Bob.
he's a
Frank's a good guy.
Jersey guy, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
He's
would
from
say,
Caldwell.
oh, that's right, North Jersey. So it's like I'm a big believer in. I always say you want to reset the body or you want to get strong, you want to get fit. Sleds, carries, calisthenics.
Yeah, buddy.
So sled drags, one arm carries, two arm carries. You got to start every carry and finish it with a deadlift motion. And calisthenics, lunges, split squats, push up, recline row, pull up, lateral lunges, and then band work, face pulls, push downs, pull aparts. But I know you got to go soon, Paul. So let's get to the most important questions for
Um,
Mike.
So real quick, just off of what Paul was saying, like in terms of the, and you too, Zach, like I think this is an area where Tony Holler has been very valuable in terms of getting, especially football coaches, to rethink their approach to training their kids. And like, I mean, listen, there is a lot of value in doing like toughness activities, right? But we it can't be every single day, right? Like, like when I was at Ramapo in the off season, our workouts were after school. We had one Friday morning stuff. It's like, hey, let's get up one day a week. Let's do something hard. Let's do something
Nice.
tough as a team, But for the most part, like let's keep the kids fresh. Let's let them get their sleep, right? And I took that similar approach elsewhere, right? So it is important. And I think Tony Holler's been important to that. Like I'm not a full blown feed the cats guy,
Right.
but like there's a lot of value in some of the things that he has brought to the table. And, but
True.
I do agree. There is a time for toughness stuff. It just every day,
Got to be the
like,
right time, the
yeah,
right kids. They got to have the right mentality. Paul, you're
all
starting
right.
at
yes.
7:15.
Yeah,
Go
they're
ahead.
out. They're
Sorry.
outside throwing. I have them throw. I always have them throw medicine or tennis balls against the wall. They have to use their right hand and their left hand, so they have to
Paul,
step and
Paul,
throw.
do the movie or the food question. It's
Well,
up to you.
I want to
Oh,
talk about toughness a little bit now.
Oh, he
It's
blew it.
so, but so Mike, you have a chance to go out to a movie with your wife, and Melania is available, and you're like, I may have to go to Melania, or there's a new Equalizer coming out. Are you going to put your foot down, or are you going to cave on the Melania?
well, good
Yeah, let's
news
hear it.
here, Paul, for this question. There's no toe tag on this finger, so
Oh,
I'm going to
dang.
see the
Oh,
equalizer. All right.
Well, let's take it a step further. If they were in a fight, who would win? Rambo or Denzel and the Equalizer? And it could be a
oh.
hand-to-hand fight, or it could be they're out hunting each other down. I mean, it's up to you, Mike.
I mean, I think you do have to go. As much as I love Denzel and the Equalizer and like Man on Fire, right? All those things, and he was
Yes.
a legit badass. I mean, Rambo was a special forces guy.
Man,
Uh,
Rambo would
So
be in a tree, camouflage, hitting them with
I know, but
darts.
Denzel worked for We don't even know what
I don't even know.
agency. You
Who
don't
are
even
you?
know where he is.
Follow up: Rambo, Schwarzenegger, and the Predator.
Rambo every day, twice on Sunday.
Yep, I
Come
agree.
on,
Real,
I don't
all
know,
Yeah.
right,
man.
Yeah. Schwarzenegger
real,
can't move.
yes, real quick before Paul cuts out. Mike is a North Jersey guy. Talk to us about like a go-to restaurant or meal that you have up north.
Okay. Well, let me say this. I lived in New York City for 20 years, so we got some steep competition there. But you got to go with Fiore's in Hoboken on the Tuesday, Saturday roast beef special.
Wow.
All right.
If you have not been to Fiore's in Hoboken for their that roast beef sandwich, so you get a full hero, the meat sliced, they drizzle the gravy all over it. So it's the roast beef, the mozzarella, and then you get it with the hot peppers. And that is absolutely outstanding.
The
Let's go do a podcast from Fiore's.
Columbia wrestling
Absolutely.
staff lives in Hoboken. Columbia University wrestling staff now lives in
Yeah.
Hoboken. So I'll check
And they
in on
just won
them.
the IB championship.
I know.
I saw.
Do- Donnie Pritzloff, Buxton, Sebastian, Billy Janzer, those guys are amazing. They got Olympians there with the RTC. So,
Yeah.
guys listening,
I got to roll.
Mike, see you. Paul, we'll catch you later,
Paul, good
All
bro.
right,
seeing you,
brother.
man.
Great to
See you
see
at the
you.
clinic.
Yes, sir.
I think Paul is happy with your answers to the movies. So, for everybody listening, watching, Mike is going to be one of the speakers at the New Jersey State Clinic for NHSCA. We're going to link that up below. And also, Mike also has his own business. So, Mike, for anybody that wants to connect with you up in, I
Mhm.
don't know if you do virtual as well, but
Yeah,
how can they connect with you?
for sure. So, start, kind of like we talked about earlier, I have a little bit of varying experience in a lot of things. So, created organization Mike Defazio Sports. They can find me on Instagram or Twitter at mdefazio Sports, or just type in Mike Defazio Sports. It'll come up. You'll see the logo for it is a black logo. It says MDS in it, and so do remote training. I'll make programs. I train a lot of my buddies that way, so just helping them out with their workouts. But starting to get into it with kids as well. Do some coaching consultation as well as somebody who's been a head coach and who's built two programs from scratch that we were able to take and make champions. And then after taking over a well-established program, and having that different experience, right? Those are very different things. As well as some recruiting consultation, as I ran college recruiting at Columbia for 2 years. Those are the things the services that I offer. We can do remotes, we can do in person. There's a lot of flexibility with it. So if people are interested, you can find me Defazio Sports on Twitter and on Instagram.
I will link everything up in the show notes. So, Mike, a quick question for you on
Yep.
recruiting. This is a
Yep.
confusing area for kids and parents. And some athletes want to be recruited, and sometimes their work ethic, as they say, is not on target. Their
Mhm.
work ethic is here, but their goal is to get to this certain school. What are coaches looking for, and what do you like
Yeah.
one or two crucial tips you give to athletes who keep saying, Coach, I want to play basketball in college, football in college, baseball, girls soccer, whatever it is. I'd love to hear a tip or two you give them, whether it's strategic for
Yeah.
like how to connect with coaches or about their playing and their work ethic.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the most important things are visibility and communication. All right. So and they kind of go hand in hand, play off each other. If you make yourself more visible, right, you're going to get more communication. And if you communicate more actively, you're going to make yourself more visible, right? So visibility and communication are really important. Making sure your grades are in order, like that is one of the biggest things. For any kids out there, if you can get a 3.0, keep yourself with A's and B's, have a decent test score, you are going to open the door for yourself to so many schools. And, particularly at the D3 and D2 level, and D3 is like a lot. There's a lot of academic money to go around there. People are willing to work with you if you have good grades. I'll say this, getting your coach involved is probably the most important thing, right? So and here's where things are different now, Zach, is everything used to go through high school. Now, the only sport that really goes through high school is football. Every other sport kids are going through their travel coaches, their summer coaches, whatever it
Oh,
is, because that's, the kids are not getting recruited the same out of high school for all these other sports because kids are, on these travel teams. They're going all over the country during the summertime, whenever they have a break. So a lot of the recruiting for sports outside of football is falling on the travel coaches. So for kids and for parents out there, getting your coach involved in the process, telling them like, these are the schools that I'm interested in, like having that coach reach out for you. That is probably, I mean, combined with you obviously being a good student, being a good athlete, right? And you making efforts on your own, getting your coach involved in it is one of the most important things. Because listen, I remember when I got into college recruiting, and I remember when I was in high school, being on Twitter, like not thinking twice, like, yeah, of course my DMs are open, right? Like I don't really have too many people reaching out to me. I was on the job for a few days and my DMs were open. I would wake up every morning with hundreds of DMs from
whoa.
kids all over. Like, so it's impossible for you to go through everybody all the
Hmm.
time and not miss something. But when Vito Campanelli from Bergen Catholic reaches out, that holds a lot of different weight, right?
Yes.
Like all those guys in the parochials are top publics, right? Like when the coach reaches out for you, like, when you're in college, okay, I got a 17-year-old kid reaching out to me. I don't know anything, but I'll tell you what, if the head coach from a storied program says, this is a guy for you, I'm listening a lot more and I'm putting more focus on that kid. So, again, to parents and players, if you're in football, getting your high school coach involved. And if you're in any other sport, you're getting both coaches involved, but especially the travel coach is really, really important to that process. And, like I said before, I'm happy to help people with a consultation. One of the things that I do is I review film, I review transcripts, I create a recruiting profile for kids and their families and give them some guidance that way to go about it.
I think parents are lost with this whole process because it's
Oh, yeah.
gotten so crazy. And I have friends that are strength coaches at some of the bigger D1 schools, and they said they're just the truth is, and it's out there, it's being said that high school kids are not being recruited to go to a D1 program. He said maybe two or three, and I'd say about 2 to 3 years ago, when the NIL thing kind of blew up, they were seeing a big turnover every year, about a
Yep.
50% turnover of the team. Now they said we're seeing turnover every semester, like from fall to spring. Last question for you, Mike, because I find this very interesting. I like to be
Yeah.
transparent. I have never had a football coach when they come to the school stop in the weight room and ask me about John Smith's work ethic. Is that normal or should it be?
So
Yeah.
it is one, they definitely should, but very often the football coach is often running the weight room, right? So
Hmm.
like again, like you're a bit of an anomaly in that sense, right? Like
Gotcha.
that you guys have a guy there. Same thing with me. But it is a question you are asking the head football coach, like how does this kid do in the weight room? So one of the things like when I have a recruiting presentation that I take families and kids through, and like things that college coaches ask about in addition to like how are your grades, how are you in the community, how do you practice, what do you like in the weight room? And because you people don't realize how much time you spend there when you get to college, right? And you see a lot of high school kids who are great high school players and they loved it, but all of a sudden they go to college and it's like, wait, I'm lifting 4 days a week and not two, and
Yes.
I'm in meetings all day, so it's very different. But yes, what is your work ethic in the weight room? What numbers do you put up? Coaches want to know those things. So those are questions that get asked, but I think in our situation, Zach, most of it goes through the head football coach because more often than not, the head coach is running the weight room.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see your experience as the years go on. If a college recruiting coach comes in and says, "Oh, I want to speak to the strength coach about this kid's work
Yeah,
ethic," and I've heard guys that are in the strength and conditioning field, they're saying now college weight rooms are starting to invest in machines because they're like, we don't have a 6 week intro program for the incoming freshmen because we don't have incoming freshmen. We have
yeah.
transfers and we have
Mm-hmm.
kids that are, I think pretty soon their contract will say, I don't squat, or, you're not my strength coach. Mike Defazio is my strength coach.
Yeah.
He's going to send me my workouts. I think it's going to, if it hasn't happened already, it's happening. It's going to happen this year.
Yeah, and I'll say this, just another thing for parents out there and for kids especially. Like, listen, everybody's got dreams, and I can totally understand. I was that way, right? In my mind, I'm like, I'm going big time D1 and all this stuff, right? And just wasn't good enough. I was still fortunate to go and play at a Division 1 level and get a great education. But now, to your point, right, where you're talking about transfers and all this stuff, high school kids, like, unless you are that top 10% kid, like, you need to be open to all levels of football because the trickle down is very, very drastic. And like, you're seeing kids that, were maybe one time a low level D1 kid that are now D3 kids just because you're getting whatever. They'll take Alabama, for example. Like, Alabama's got kids, and then a bunch of them feel like they're not going to get, so they transfer to a lower FCS, right, to get playing time. And then what happens? That bumps out the fringe kid on the FCS level who's now going D2 or D3. I mean, I'll tell you this: like, I was out this fall at a University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, and I was watching their football game. That UW D3 football league is not D3 football. Like, those kids are mutants.
Really?
Like, when we're up here, we're thinking D3, like P, James Madison, right? Like, or not James Madison, excuse me. Geez, what am I thinking?
By you?
Geez, I just totally.
Yeah, Willie
up by
P,
us, yeah. So
Montclair.
Willie P, Montclair, et cetera, right? Like, and listen, and that's good football, but that's not the D3 football that is in like the middle of the country, right?
Interesting.
So like, what I'm saying is, you might have to swallow your ego a little bit, right, and be open to D3 and D2. And I'll just say this: there are unbelievable opportunities that exist there. Like, I don't know if I've ever met a kid who played D3 football and didn't like it. I've talked to a lot of D1 kids that were like, man, like, I mean, it was good. It got me into school, but that was a lot, So just, I say, be open to everybody, kind of like dating, right? Like, you got to sift through a lot of things to figure out what's really right for you, and you should be open to everybody in that sense. Same thing here. Be open to whomever recruits you, because you never know what it's going to look like at the end when it's time and you're looking to sign. And, these guys are working out their final depth on their roster. Again, that's another thing, right? You got kids leaving so much. Like, a coach may tell you yes, and then all of a sudden a transfer comes in and it's just like, yeah, sorry, man, we're taking this kid, right? So
yes,
there's a lot to it. It's hectic. I feel bad for kids and parents right now because it's harder than it's ever been.
very good advice, Mike. So I hope parents reach out to you, coaches. I'd love to see administrators reaching out to you for starting programs. Like, you have all these different experiences, and I think it's important. I think what happens a lot in education is administration or the school district gets money, and they're like, they contact like a popular company that
Yeah.
builds weight rooms,
Outsource it. Yeah.
but then they don't have the person to properly run it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's also something Paul and I are going to be speaking at the athletic directors conference, and sometimes they just don't want to hear it because it's a new and another thing to their plate of the 99 things they already got to do. So again, everybody listening, come and catch Mike at the state clinic, come and network and speak with other coaches, learn from other coaches. It's such a great time. And I've said this to many people, like, I love going to all the conferences, but the people at NHSCA, maybe it's just the high school level. I love the open-mindedness of everybody. That's where
Yeah.
we met Mike last year. He came with his buddy Will Nahan, who is a amazing coach and an amazing human. So it's been great. Mike, hang tight, please. I'll do a proper goodbye to you. And again, for everybody listening, I will link up the state clinic below, and I will link up all of Mike's social and website so you could connect with him. So, Mike, thanks again. Everybody,
Thank you.
thanks for listening and or watching. We'll see you at the state clinic.